Hello, Board Game Shenanigans here. So this is kind of a follow-up to the last video I made about Steamforged games as a case study for a type of board game publisher and how I think that they went, and I'm going to critique what they did and how best to learn from their mistakes. So this particular example is a bit different as it is of a publisher that no longer exists as of 2023, and that is Big Kid Games. And I decided to make this video as I kind of came across this game here, Sweet Mess. I was looking at it on Board Game Geek and I was wondering why all the ratings were bad, and then I kind of went down the rabbit hole of what Big Kid Games have done and realised why it's such a downvoted game. And so we're starting here on their website, and as you can see from the cycle, there's two games going through, Sweet Mess and Gondola. And Sweet Mess still, as a game, has still not been made, but Gondola was made, I guess, back in 2016, 2017 time. So this company's been around for several years, but this is the only game they've actually came out with. The only game that they designed from the ground up was Gondola. And just to have a look at quickly on the website, their logo has this man here, and I think this is their CEO, Jason. So they decided to make their logo and design it around the CEO, and that's just, for me, that's the first red flag with the type of the business they're running, where they've based their entire image around the CEO. He's just designed the company around himself, and I think that's it's not a good image for a business to have, where you are the business. Really, he's made the business to be part of him, and so he's so attached to this business now that they can't change the logo because he's in there, and if he leaves, he can't leave because it's his business. So the business goes down with him. So if he decides to quit, it's over. And I think that's kind of what happened with this company. They've had this guy Jason, and he's kind of no, I'm not doing it anymore, and that's it. So just to go through, they define Big Kid Games here, and I thought it was interesting because it says we want to do things big, big as in great, big as in fun, and big as in awesome. Yeah, and they only made one game, so not really big, is it? And they never really got to that big stage. Board games are making a comeback, but not from this publisher. Kid, we're not a kids game publisher. We don't exclusively make children's games. Our games are fun and playable for all ages. Not really playable because they made one game. And so games, no, they made one game. And then games, yes, games are why we do what we do. We love games, and we love making games that you love. Not really. They didn't make any games that anyone loved, and they made one game, not we love making games. So already their website, they're trying to big themselves up. They're this big company, they're going to make games, but they didn't do it. Just to click through each tab they've got the About page, our designs, our team, our pledge, our future. They're saying this is what they're planning on doing. This is our mission statement for the business. You go to games, and they have Gondola, Montana, Sweet Mess, and Montana wasn't on their front page, but Montana was a game that they didn't make. They were just publishing it in the United States and other territories, and it was originally a European-made game. So this isn't a game they made. They just picked up the license and were trying to sell it themselves. And Gondola was their first game. They did design it, they did make it, and Sweet Mess still hasn't made an appearance. It's still nothing to do with it, and they sold it off to another company. News, and you have to news, and it's like, well, they cover two games that aren't covered elsewhere, and neither of these two games, as they've presented them here, exist. They didn't make them, they didn't fund them, they didn't do anything. And PAX 2017 winner, well, you showed it off in 2017 to a small group of people at PAX and never actually followed up on it and made it. And then they have the contact page, which just basic send information. So that's just covering their website. But to move on from that, let's just look at their Kickstarter, because of course, as a company that's not doing well, they base their entire business model around Kickstarter, and that is starting for failure, really. So BKG is no longer in business. So they have modified their account. They've removed their profile picture. Then they've said they're no longer in business. So they've give up. They've quit. They've gone. And that's Jason. Last login, Feb 2nd this year. So to look at their created games, they started with Gondola, as I mentioned, and the first campaign didn't do as well as they wanted, and then they moved on and redid it and actually funded, and they've released it. So that's where things started good for them. They realised that they've got something good, they made it. The game didn't do as well as they wanted, but they got it out the door. And then after that, they did this campaign, The Future of Big Kid Games, Gone to Mars, then Montana, which was a full-on reprint of a game in Europe, and then Sweet Mess, which they've sold to Fantasia Games, who made Endless Winter. And then they had Complexity and Complex City again, but neither of these were successful, cancelled and then unsuccessful. And then they did the expansions for Montana, which was, again, they followed up on the previous one, and it was stuff that already existed, and they were just publishing it themselves. So here's what comes out on Board Game Geek with what games they made. Montana's is attributed to them, but they are not the original publisher of this game. They were just publishing the American version of it. Gondor's the only game they actually made from scratch and actually released. Complexity never funded, so they put the campaign page here, but they never actually go and follow through on it. And then Pirates of Predonia here was another campaign, but as you can see, never released. And someone give it a 10, but no one actually ever got this game. And then Sweet Mess and all the expansions they planned for this game as well, they're in here. And as you can see, everyone downvoted it because no one actually has received this game. So to quick look at Gondola, not going to spend too much time here, but I just kind of saw the beginning with this Dice Tower quote and saying it's like this is a promotion from the Dice Tower, but actually this isn't actually a review. This is from this Dice Tower write-up here. It's just kind of someone summarising, hey, it looks like it's alright, maybe give it a check out. That's all they said. So they put that front and centre on their campaign page, but Dice Tower never reviewed the game. So for me, that sounds like, it's a red flag where they're making the game seem better than it is. Oh, look, we got the Dice Tower on board, but they never did. They never had the Dice Tower on board for this game when they were doing this campaign. So that's a red flag to me, and that's what came out when I was looking through this page. But just have a note of that. But the next, again, it came out, and overall, people thought it was average. It wasn't the best game in the world. Not many people owned it. Like, the very few people put it on here who got it from the Kickstarter, and I don't think it got to retail. So it was, a very small release, very small game, and they kind of moved on from it and never touched on it again after. And then we come to this campaign, The Future of Big Kid Games. And this, to me, is the biggest red flag of red flags that you could ever see from a board game company. Just read the picture, really. I mean, be our future, every game, early access, VIP perks, and more. So in this campaign, they're not selling you an individual game. They are selling you their entire game library. They are selling you on their future. They're saying you're going to get everything that we make from now until when we say it stops, really. And this is just a red flag in general, just for everything. It's like, it's nothing to do with selling product. It's not showing you finished product. It's just doing it based on trust, that you trust that they're going to make and develop games and give them to you. How does 5 years worth of games sound? Well, how many games we're talking about here? Because only one. You only got one new game. Gondola was also included in this, and Montana, and that's it. 2 games. You got 2 games. So you got one that you might have already backed if you already supported them, and then you got one that was a game that was just being shipped to England, out of England and out of Europe for the first time, really. It was just something they'd already been made. So not really in their future, really. Like Gondola's already successful, and then we have Gardens of Mars launching, and it didn't fund, so it never got made. So people back you were trying to get you, and already in the first quarter that after they made this campaign in early 2017, they had actually already failed another launch. So that just instant red flag. Like people are already put the money down here, and they've already realized in by Gardens of Mars that they made a terrible mistake. These are the people in the team. He is Jason Morgan, I think, who was the CEO, and then the other people he worked with in this team. What's this about? This is where they said how much they split the cost. So convention supplies, bringing games to the US, so that's, your Montana. Then you have game dev and testing, and then business expenses, so that's like your wages and things for the business. So it's like, this is a very poor amount to manage it, and they only got about $7,000. So that was not enough money to pay for most of this stuff. They didn't get enough for what they wanted. So even seeing that and seeing the low funding goal for how many people they wanted for this money, it's a bit ridiculous. In hindsight, this is the biggest red flag of why people should never have supported them again after this point, this campaign. And then they go through the games. This is the games you're going to get. Our crystal ball, a crystal ball that was all made up. None of this came out after this. We've got full schedule for 2017, 2 titles this year. We're going for 3. And 2018, we've got a framing of what games come out. We're going to do 3 games a year, 2 to 4 per year. So they were saying 5 years, 2 to 4. They're saying that you're going to get about 15 games there on average. And you got 1 or 2. You got 2. One they already knew about is Gondola. So you were backing based on goodwill, really, that you thought they were going to make games. And that's depending if you even like these games, because they're all going to be different. It's like you were backing based on saying you're going to support this company, but they didn't really have to tell you how many games you're getting. They didn't say this game's definitely going to come, it's going to be made. It wasn't based on that. It was based on the hope that each other game would be made. So here's Gondola. So you got Gondola if you backed this campaign, so it was like a late way to get it. And then they did the Gardens of Mars. Gardens of Mars, actually, it was already a game. It was already released. This is the game. This is the finished product. But they wanted to jazz it up with aliens and things like that to make it look cooler. And just to jump over to that, the game, 550 backers, didn't fund, so it didn't get made. This is one that wanted to make it look fancier, but it didn't happen. The abstract game didn't get jazzed up with a new theme. It didn't happen. So already people are out their money in this future campaign, because this one, they didn't work out for them, and they never followed up and did it again. And no one really cared about it. 36 comments when it was live, cancelled on the 10th of May, and they never followed up after the day after they cancelled it. So again, it was just something that, and they were estimating November, so they had the game ready almost, but they just didn't get the people. And again, just the game already existed. It was an older game, so they were again publishing someone else's game with a new theme on top to make it look cooler than an abstract style game. But again, it didn't work out. Some people got some reviewers in, but Man vs. Meeple got it, but they put their name to it, showing it off, but it didn't work out for them. Moving on, Rocket Squad. So Rocket Squad's the next game, and this one did release, but I cannot find any proof in this campaign that they actually shipped this out to the people who had backed them for this future campaign. And it wasn't actually made by Big Kid Games. It was made by Black Straw Games. This was in collaboration. They were, tacking this on to make things a bit better for other people, another company. So again, this is, it's just a smaller game and didn't get anywhere, and it just kind of released. It wasn't that popular, and then Tom Vasel reviewed it, and that's about it, really. It wasn't much more than that, and they weren't the publisher, so it's not a game made by them. It's not in their future. It's in their business future where they were helping out someone else and decided to sell copies in this future campaign that they're making. And then after this is where I just see it's all just lies. None of this is true. So these two games, they exist and they're from other people, and they helped them out by putting it on here. Gondola was made by them. It was their first published game, and it's their only published game that was unique and developed by them. But then you get to these, and it's Pirates of Predonia, which was the game we've already seen on the website where they showed it at 2017 PAX. So back this time they'd already shown a bit off. Here's what it looked like. Well, again, they're advertising it won this showcase. Yeah, it's a good game, but yeah, it never came to light. Nothing happened with it. And here's the page again. Just someone give it a 10 out of 10. Was it Jason on another account? Because this is Jason's game, and it's the only game Jason has. This is the only game that Jason has on his name account. So the CEO of the company said he's going to design a game, and it never came about. He just put it on. He got a page up on BGG and didn't do anything with it. That's just showing that the company had no really plan. They just went, oh, Jason was just deciding he's going to make loads of games and hope they were popular, hope people would give him money. And then he decided to make a new future style campaign where back in our future, and it was just all games made by him. Because the next game, you can see, it was Tank Wars, again, by Jason. But this game, this is it. This is all the info about this game. There's no BGG page. It's a few doodles of some tanks with some cubes, a few artwork, and that's all they had. And they were advertising it on here. Yeah, this is coming. But it didn't. Nothing come. It just disappeared. This is the last mention of it on the internet. Jason didn't carry on. He didn't make more games. He had all these plans for games. And it's that kind of mentality of, he's not advertising finished product games here. He's advertising ideas. So none of these ideas are going to come to light. He's just saying they're going to be, but they're not. It's about how you should be a designer. You should, make up 100 ideas, develop 10 of them, and then show one final one off. That's the process most people should be doing. But what Jason did is, here's all these games, I've made them all, and he's showing them all off, even if they look terrible. I mean, just a tank with some cubes. Well, that's not selling anyone. Next game, Circles of Magic. They put a few Star of Davids and a few other symbols in the middle, and that's the game. Some components, but it's Jason again. Jason had another game idea here. What does this mean? What happens? It's just a mage battle of will on grounds of ever-changing magic circles. Doesn't explain anything about this game, but Jason was making it again. And then the Raid of Rellington by Jason. More info coming soon. And he made a logo. That's a good game, yeah. That's selling people. And then they have the worst one of the lot. Dinner Rush. Not even a picture. Couldn't even get you an art for this one. But Jason again. So Jason was saying he was going to design all these games, but had nothing in plan. Nothing in place for this. The only one was maybe this Pirates Predonia game, but he didn't follow up and go, here's the next campaign. They just avoided it. They just skipped it and never followed up. Probably because they were already, back in 2017, they were already having financial struggles. And they've just been chugging along for the last 6 years before they finally closed their doors. And that's the red flag of this campaign, really. They wanted you to give them money to invest in their future when you could see at this point they didn't have a future. So then they come to the rewards. And yes, 14 people put down for $375 to get all these games. And they got Gondola and then Montana. That's all they've gotten from it. They could have got that Rocket game as well, but there's no proof that they did. No one said, "Oh, can you give me the shipping for the Rocket game?" They did, but they did point it out for Gondola and Montana on this campaign, and also the cake game, the Sweet Mess. That one. Also, they asked for them, to go and put $1 forward, and so they could get the game. So that one they probably did the pledge manager for, but they still haven't gotten that game. So again, this is not true. They were saying 3 titles a year. They got one title, and then one title, a few years later. In 5 years, 2 games. Not exactly what they were advertising here. And then again, next campaign pledge level, 2 people went for 550, and this says, you can come join us at the conventions and come and be a contributor and be on the website. Their name's not on the website. We just looked through it. They don't have that. So these 2 people, who are they? They weren't there. No one names that there. So these people weren't even getting their advertisement of their name that they paid for. Conventions also, you're gonna have to go paying to get to all these conventions. So it's not really a big perk if you're not someone who goes to conventions. And I know maybe people who are putting their money down for this are probably board game super fans, but it doesn't mean you're going to spend your time at the convention just chatting to some guys at Big Kid Games who might not even be there, because is there any proof that they went to every convention in 2017 and then 2018 and 2019? I bet they didn't show up. I bet they were never in at any of these conventions. They just stopped making games, so they weren't showing off anything. And then the final tier, one person did it, $850, and they were asking for, you get some prototype copies. Yeah, that's like the bonus for paying an extra $300. So again, I don't know more. Only 17 people went for a pledge, so 30 people backed for this, but only 17 actually had a pledge. So again, they got 17 people, but they said limited to 100, but they didn't even get 20% of that 100. They got 17, and 13 people just put in $1 just to say, or something under this, just to say, hey, I support you guys. That's what they did. Didn't get the stretch goal tier. They just took the money and went with it. So just to scroll to the top, they went 30 people, which wasn't in 30, and they got $7,285 on top. And last updated January 2020. So 5-year plan? No. They did 3 years and haven't talked to you in 3 more years. So again, they didn't follow up. They didn't tell you. They don't tell you anything. And you can go through the updates. They do come out and say, yeah, look, we've got the next one. We've got Montana expansions. Here's Complex City, which didn't fund. Here's Sweet Mess. Come and do your Crowdocs. Here's Sweet Mess again. It's funded. Yeah. Montana. Come and do your Pledge Manager. Yeah. And then big news. Yeah, we've got more games coming. Yeah, but none of them came out. And then Gondola. Yeah, here's comes your Gondola copies. But, they didn't even follow up with an article specific about the Gardens of Mars, when they need people to back it, but no one did. They didn't even do that, so they can't even manage their news updates correctly because they just avoided getting funding for that game. Is it because they knew that, oh no, here it is, mission has landed, yeah, but they didn't follow up on every single one here, because I think there was 2 of those Complex Cities, but where was the first one? I only saw one, and then the second one didn't pop up. So they're missing some news articles here as well. The comments, and this is where I kind of feel that, is the people backing this, are many of them real? Because if I was out $300 and to a campaign like this, you would follow up, but no one's talked in 3 years. So last time they did an update, has everyone forgotten about it? Have they forgotten all the money they put forward? People having problems. I have a feeling, because like I said, all these people say super backer, so the people who just back everything, they've got that tag on their Kickstarter account. So I'm thinking, are some of these people just friends with Big Kid Games and they just give them some money to give them help out? And a lot of the backers here, they're not actually real. I think they're more, are they just, they just want to get it off the board to get the funding goal, so they throw in loads of money at the last minute the Big Kid Games for paying themselves, because I know people do that when they have low funding campaigns. They throw their own money at it to keep it live so they can get the money from other people. So yeah, we covered Gardens of Mars and we covered Jason. So let's just have a Montana. So Montana came out and released, and people actually got these games. So that's a different from the other ones. The S1 win, and they've got all these guys. We've got C. Garcia, Rado. All these people put their name to this, saying, oh, this is a good game, and that kind of convinces people to come and back these games. But at this point in time, we knew it was a red flag of a business, so they should did they ask to get their names put on this particular video? I know they got the review, they might have got the copies from Europe, and they were supporting it based on that version, but they shouldn't have been supporting big kid games, because they have a proven track record of not being able to fulfill what they're doing, because they'd already done this future campaign and didn't actually follow up with redoing the Gardens of Mars. They went straight to Montana. They avoided it, even though that was one of their prepared games that they were going to back to people, and they didn't finish that pledge. They didn't go, we're going to push it again and do another campaign to get it funded this time. It didn't happen. So again, there's the red flags already started. In Montana, it ended up being a decent game. People do like it, but it's not made by them. It was made by White Goblin Games, which, as you can see, they're a massive publisher in Europe. They publish loads and hundreds of games, top games, and they just decided to publish Montana, and they got through with that, and then they needed someone to go and do it in America. But I think they probably regret it, because they still didn't get the expansions out yet, and they've closed their doors before they can do that. So to where I began, where I looked at this company, this is Sweet Mess, and this is a sweet mess. I mean, the campaign never finished. They never shipped it out. They sold it off to Fantasia Games 2 years ago, and it's still 2.5 years ago, like early 2021, and they still haven't got it out the door. So that's how much of a big trouble this game was in. They just juggle people along. Oh yeah, it's coming December 2018. Nope, not coming then. Not coming 2019. 2020. Oh, sorry, COVID happened. Now we can't do anything about it. Oh yeah, same with 2021, still can't do anything about it. We're selling the game off to Fantasia, and now Fantasia are picking up the pieces and trying to get the game out the door. And again, the same channels, Rado, Moses Meeple, Game Boy Geek, Tantrum Mouse, Dice Tower, all these guys were in the other videos, the other games that they've been showing. So it's like, they're giving these games to these channels, and it's sullying their good name, because they've convinced people to go and look at these games and back them. And it's taken them, it's been 6 years, and 5 years since they did this campaign, and they still haven't got it out the door. And I think that's probably why guys like Tom Bassel stopped doing previews and things like that. They don't cover it as much as they used to, because they kind of know that, it's a risky business. They're going to make Dice Tower look bad if they show off a game that never sees the light of day. And they covered a lot in this game. They made loads of expansions, stretch goals, things like that, because they got loads more money than any other game they've made. This is the one that's the biggest campaign they had, and loads of stuff here. Just keeps going and going. Deluxe, give us an extra mini, yeah, let's do it. That's what they did. They went for everything for this. We have reviews, yeah, we've reviewed it, guys. It's good, and that convinces people to back it. But their business model that they had, it was not good. It was a red flag already. This game wasn't even in that list, unless it's that bottom game about cooking that they've changed the name of. But this game wasn't even on their plan. It wasn't even planned for the 2018 schedule that they originally decided. They kind of added this at the last minute. And here's Jason again, project management. Well, he is the CEO, but now he's project management, and then you have all these other people working on the game. It's like, some of these, they probably weren't too aware what Jason was doing here, and some of these have been here since the beginning. But I mean, did Game Trays, do they regret it? I don't know. Maybe they do a lot for other people. They can bring people on board based on showing off a good campaign, and then it just sullies everyone's name who gets involved with this sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, $150,000, people are still out of it. People still don't have what they want from this. Still asking for updates. It's on the way, but they've been saying things like it's coming to production for years. It's been saying, yeah, we're baking it. It's baking. Yeah, it's baking. Yeah. How many times can they say it? At this point, everyone's annoyed. They're annoyed they've not got this game yet. So, not trying to joke about baking. Say this is the situation we're in. We're down the bottom here. We're trying to fix this game. We're trying to pick up the pieces. But even Fantasia Games could play it, carrying on with this. And as you can see from Board Game Geek, everyone's downvoting this game because they're still not happy, because it's still not here. Look, Fantasia Games took it over 2 years ago, and they're still picking up the pieces. This is where Big Kid Games handed it off. March 2021, they handed it off and washed their hands with it. But it was their game. They started this, and they're not here to finish it. because they've given up at this time, but they've only officially closed their doors now in 2023 when this is the point. They were trying to carry on, but they didn't. They just lied to you. They told you that, yeah, we're going to hand it over here. This is good. They can go handle this game. We'll handle the next games. But didn't work out for them because they're still not handling the other games. Complex City, both versions, never funded. So again, there were all these games that promised 5 years of games, but they can't fund any games because they weren't that popular. They can't be doing like a fund us in advance campaign when they still not got any of the word out. Gondola was one game and it was average. So you need to build a rapport with the industry first to say, this is a good game, we're making good games, and this is why you should back us and support us in the future games. But they didn't. They just went out, second the campaign, yeah, give us money and we'll give you games. It's like, there was a big red flag. It was nothing there for it. Montana and the Montana expansions, they've not come. They were released in Europe. They're out. You can get them. You could import them. But they put them on this campaign with this publisher. I don't know why they trusted him. Like Goblin, was it? They shouldn't have trusted him. They shouldn't have handed the game over to him. They saw that their other campaigns weren't doing too well. They were cancelling games. This was a 2019, this is a year after Sweet Mess should have shipped, and it didn't. So you should have said, no, we're not giving it to you. We're going to try and do it ourselves, do it. But they still partnered with them. They did it again. There's a poor management on them as well. They need to realise that, this company wasn't doing too hot. They had this, game plan of 2 or 3 games a year, and they give you one, Montana. That was because it was already made. And they couldn't even get every game that was already made out because they did the Gardens of Mars and it existed, and they didn't get it released. They didn't fund it. And then this is the latest update from Montana, 2nd of February 2023. It was sad hearts we announced to you that Big Kid Games is no more. A statement on this will be released soon, but in regards to this project and you, please read on and just go on through it. We've been in the bad since 2019, since when they funded this game on Kickstarter. So this was like a last-ditch effort to do well, and they barely funded. So they took people's money, and with too little funding amount, they took people's money willingly. They knew that they couldn't afford it. They knew this wasn't enough, and they still took your money. And that's just showing how incompetent they were in managing Kickstarters and how they didn't know what they were doing. And this guy Jason, we're going to make all these games, and he didn't make any games himself, but he had all these ideas in his head, putting them to paper, and didn't follow up and get any done. He was just banking on getting other people's games published and trying to make a quick buck on Kickstarter, and it just didn't work out for him. Didn't work out for the company. Big Kid Games, they're no more because of just poor management, poor directorship from the CEO, and that's just how it is. This is just explaining it. Don't blame shipping crisis, don't blame COVID, don't blame any of this stuff, but that's not what destroyed this company. It was the management, and that's all it is. Our goal is to make it right with you in the near future. Although we're closing our doors, we are not closing our doors on you. Well, that was a big lie, wasn't it? Because we know this is the last time they logged in. It's been 4 months and they haven't come back. They were lying to you. We're not closing our doors on you. Yes, you did, Jason. Because you would have been in the comments telling people, we're sorry. If we want to make it right, we're going to do it right. We're going to give you refunds. But you didn't. You've took the money, you've spent the money, and you've gone with it. You've ran with that money. There's more. Look, production update November. So they still were saying they're going to get this game made. Look, they've been saying it for months. Yes, the time has come. April last year. Not really. It didn't come. They're lying to you. They were just juggling you along for years. Since they sold off Sweet Mess, they had nothing to plan. They had nothing planned. They've done no Kickstarter since. They've trying to say they're going to get this game out, and they never had it. They never had it ready. Look, Crowdox lied. They got you. You got your money. You pledged. You paid your shipping probably, and they've still got your money. That's ridiculous. And then the last note I want to see is that is not a good ratio. They had 214 games backed on this account, on the Big Kid Games account, but 9 created. To me, is he just spending his money on other board games that he can fund for himself? Look, 2020, all of these are after they had financial struggles. They said struggles since 2019, but then after 2020, yeah, give them games. Yeah, let's back Valeria, let's back Crocodile boards. That's expensive, yeah. Let's back Cloudspire, massive game. Back Wonderland's War. They've been backing games left and right on this account. Europa, that took years to finish as well. That was a big expensive game. Joan of Arc, massive games. They were just throwing money that they didn't have. They were just taking your money and backing games. That's what it sounds like to me. Look at all these games. He's just in it for himself. He was taking this money, getting these games for himself, and then telling you, oh yeah, the games are coming. Yeah, 5-year plan. Here's 3 games a year. And you got 2. You got one that was already out and one that was coming later. And it was one imported from Europe. So they made one game and thought they could ride on that success for the rest of their days on Kickstarter and as a board game publisher. But they didn't. None of it worked. And they just been lying through the teeth the entire time. And this is something that board game publishers need to learn from. You need to just be honest, tell the truth, and if you're in the bad zone, you're having financial struggles, open about it, especially if you're a Kickstarter company. You need to have accountability from your backers. You need to say, we need to talk about this, we're having struggles, help us out. And you can see it with other publishers right now. They're doing the same type of thing as this company, as Big Kid Games has done. They will put more campaigns out to try and get more money to fund the next game, to fund the last game, to fund every game they've got outstanding. And this company in particular, it didn't have many campaigns outstanding. They just weren't successful in funding. If they were all successful in funding, not a single one would have come out. And I guarantee that. So you got to be glad that it's such a low amount. It's just Sweet Mess got moved off, so there's a likelihood you can get this game this year, next year maybe. Gondola you had, and Montana, their expansions, you've got to just take the loss with that one and try and import it from Europe if you really care about it. And then this is the biggest red flag though, back in for future games. Anyone who did that and actually expected to get games, you shouldn't have thought about it. Look, they didn't even name them here. This is what you're gonna get, and you didn't get any of these games. You didn't get any of the ones listed. Anything they planned out, they didn't get. I can't even find a comment saying that you got that Rocket game. So it did release, but did these people actually get Rocket Squad? I don't think they actually did, because no one said in the updates, yeah, here's your Rocket Squad pledge manager. So yeah, just to round it all off, it is just a terrible situation to be in where you're a business and you're just not getting any success on what you're doing. But it's worse for the people who financially support these companies and just don't know the ins and outs of the industry and think that because it's on Kickstarter, it's a real game and they can back it and get a final product out of it. You don't guarantee that. You have to be careful. You have to look at their history. And any time back, as far back as 2017, you could have seen the writing on the wall for this company. So this is more of a PSA. Be careful. Go out onto Kickstarter. Check what developers are doing, what publishers are doing. Check their history, and you'll learn from it. You'll see if something is a safe back or not. And that's something you need to focus on in board gaming. Or you'll end up out of your money, or you'll end up like a poor developer like Big Kid Games. And that's for designers and developers and publishers who are listening. You need to focus and, get the games done one at a time and not overpromise. All right? So, thanks for listening. If you listened through all this whole video, please like, subscribe, and share the video. And please comment your own opinions and comment other publishers you might want to watch about, if you want me to talk about. And please be careful out there in the Kickstarter world. All right. Thanks. Bye.